The first scene shows a student called Josh Ockman hurrying towards the university building. On his way, he notices a mystery person in a bike side mirror, but it vanishes as he looks again. Although this first concerns him, he dismisses it and goes to the library by sharing a lift with an old guy. Josh enters the library and finds it weirdly dark and vacant. He cries out for his buddy, Douglas Ziegler, whom he was meant to meet there, but no one responds, leaving him worried. Despite his apprehension, Josh examines the library with caution. At one point, he is shocked by the sudden presence of the same elderly guy, leading him to drop some volumes from the shelf. The old guy walks away with his rusted book cart as he scoops up the volumes. While still looking for his companion, Josh sees strange occurrences such as flickering tube lights, books falling off shelves, and the elderly man's cart moving on its own. Curious, he approaches the cart, only to be met with a horrifying, screaming visage that scares the very daylights out of him. Suddenly, a scary humanoid entity with extended fingers grabs Josh's head and sucks his life essence. In the following scene, we meet four university friends, Isabel, Stone, Tim, and Matty, who are drinking in a crowded pub. Everyone appears to be having a good time, except for Matty, who is worried about her computer geek boyfriend, Josh, who has been gone for a week. Isabel, sensing her concern, proposes moving on from Josh, arguing that the time they spent apart exceeds the time they spent together. Tim, who has feelings for Matty, then offers to accompany her home, but she politely rejects it because she just sees him as a friend. Matty returns to her flat and listens to a couple of voicemails, one from her mother and, surprise, the other from Josh. The second message, on the other hand, is blank, with Josh just calling her name and hanging up. Matty is concerned and attempts to call him again, but he does not answer the phone. Matty is unable to sleep that night, so she checks on her flatmate, Isabel, only to discover that she is not at home. She is sleeping with a strange guy at his apartment, it turns out. As a consequence, Matty texts Isabel and asks her to return home. Matty decides to pay a visit to Josh's flat the next day after completing college lectures. She knocks on the door but receives no reaction from the inside. She eventually finds a spare key above the door, allowing her to enter. She walks inside a flat that is in full chaos, with a computer code running. Josh eventually goes out, but he seems to be changed, not quite himself. Matty inquires as to where he has been and why he has not been answering his phone. Instead of responding, he rolls up an Ethernet cord and walks into a room, ordering her to wait in the kitchen. While waiting, she discovers Josh's pet cat, who is trapped in a closet and dying of hunger. Matty hurries to ask Josh about what's going on, but to her surprise, he's done the unimaginable by utilizing the same wire. Matty is suffering psychologically as a result of this horrible occurrence, so she seeks therapy from a doctor. During one of her sessions, she sobs, feeling responsible for her inability to avert Josh's awful end. The doctor, on the other hand, gives consolation, assuring her that it's not her fault and that Josh may have buried his loneliness for a long time. Matty's friends try to soothe her later that day by sending encouraging comments in a group chat. However, they are surprised to get messages from Josh's account requesting assistance. The four buddies gathered on campus the next day to discuss this bizarre encounter. They then suspect that Josh's PC is still on and that the messages are being caused by a virus. Stone chooses to go to Josh's flat and log off the computer as a result. Stone visits Josh's residence after classes to investigate the strange house. To his surprise, he soon notices a pale lady coming from the wall and approaching him. Stone, in a panic, attempts to hide beneath the bed, but the ghostly creature approaches him and steals his soul, just as it did Josh. The next day, Matty phones Stone to see if he was able to shut off the computer. However, as predicted, the possessed Stone does not speak much over the phone. Matty is disturbed by the scenario and decides to take matters into her own hands by going to Josh's flat. The landlady, on the other hand, has cleared out and left the apartment unoccupied. When Matty inquires about the computer, the landlady informs her that she has already sold it because Josh has not paid the rent for several months. Despite this, Matty tracks down the computer's buyer, Dex McCarthy, and pays him a visit. She accuses him of sending odd messages from her boyfriend's computer. Dex, perplexed, shows her that he hasn't even connected the computer, leaving Matty befuddled as she walks away. Dex subsequently plugs in the computer to figure out what she was saying and uncovers a series of strange films. One of them depicts Josh pulling out a pistol and, sadly, doing the unspeakable. Dex, terrified, phones Matty and shows her the disturbing film, leaving her terribly disturbed. Matty receives a parcel delivered by Josh 2 days before his death a few days later, while at college. Inside, she discovers rolls of red tape and a message from Josh stating that these tapes keep them out, adding to the mystery and uncertainty of the occurrences. Matty begins to have progressively frightening dreams and images of horrific entities as the days pass. She often experiences the frightening sights of individuals doing the unspeakable right in front of her. These events lead her to feel that something horrible is chasing her. She sees her psychiatrist one day, but even he dismisses her allegations as hallucinations. Matty strives to keep her usual daily routine and attends college while trying to accept this explanation. However, she detects an intriguing trend: the university is steadily growing more empty as students cease turning up. Matty hears unusual noises in the lavatory one day and goes to check. Suddenly, she notices someone peeping through one of the bathroom doors, which frightens her and causes her to escape in terror. In the following scene, Tim decides to pay a visit to Stone, who has been unresponsive to phone calls for some days. Tim finds him in a distraught state as he enters his flat, crying and sobbing, "I don't want to die." Before Tim can react, Stone is drawn into and swallowed by the wall, leaving just a shadowy trace behind. This frightens Tim, so he dashes back to his apartment and quickly covers the doors and windows with red tape. He looks through the door peephole after concealing everything, and at the same moment, a humanoid creature with a big mouth strikes him. On the same night, Matty's computer powers up by itself and begins playing odd films. She disconnects all of the computer cords, terrified, but the printer continues to produce some images. She notices a hazy face after assembling the printed parts. She rushes to Dex's house, terrified, to disclose her findings. In response, he sends her video messages sent by Josh to Douglas. They also discover that Josh hacked into Douglas' computer system and unwittingly released a virus that opened a doorway between the living and the dead. It is also revealed that Josh had written a counterprogram to remedy the problem and had planned to meet Douglas in the library, but he was taken by the creature before he could do anything. Dex soon discovers Josh's counterprogram, carefully disguised with red tape, inside the PC casing. Meanwhile, Isabel is getting ready to wash her laundry when the lights begin to flicker. Soon, the door to the washing machine magically opens, and the garments inside tumble out. As she approaches to investigate, she is frightened by the apparition of a spider-like thing that emerges and absorbs her soul. Later that night, Matty arrives home to discover that her flatmate, Isabel, has been infected by the demonic thing. She hurriedly dials 911 for assistance but receives no answer. Isabel then disintegrates into ash particles, telling Mattie that the creature will soon come for her as well. Mattie, terrified and desperate, phones Dex, who swiftly arrives to pick her up. Dex pretends to have uncovered Douglas's whereabouts, and the two of them proceed to his location. Along the trip, they see the city in a state of apocalyptic disorder, with broken automobiles and panic everywhere. They also come across a family that encourages them to seek sanctuary in a less technologically advanced region, as the monsters appear to be coming from computer systems. Nonetheless, Mattie and Dex are determined to bring the entire system to a halt and put a stop to the chaos. When they get to Douglas' house, they see that his room is completely wrapped with red tape. Douglas emerges from a cupboard and immediately locks the door with additional red tape, fearful that the spirits may enter. The pair then want to know what's going on, and Douglas explains how things started. He describes Josh's involvement in a telecom project in which they discovered frequencies that no one knew existed. They mistakenly unlocked certain frequencies, allowing souls from another realm to join the world of the living. Furthermore, Douglas reveals that these spirits sap people's will to live, leading them to commit suicide. After discovering all of this, Mattie and Dex realize that in order to put a stop to it all, they must install Josh's counterprogram on the server computer, which is housed in the basement of the university building. Dex and Mattie make their way to the server room, armed with this knowledge. When they arrive at the institution, they are confronted by a terrifying army of weird cyber entities. The spirits continue to pursue them as they make their way through the corridors to the basement. As a result, Dex grips the door, encouraging Mattie to enter the lift. Dex rushes to follow up as she walks in, but two identical spirits block his way, leaving Mattie to go alone. As the lift descends into the basement, the power cuts out, forcing it to stop. Despite this, Mattie escapes the stuck lift and enters the server room. Inside, she is faced by one of the cyber spirits, who moves slowly towards her. Moments later, she is enveloped by phantom arms that appear to be ready to consume her. It looks as though she is about to meet her end, but Dex arrives and saves her, telling her not to stare into the spirit's face. Dex then goes to the main computer and installs the counter program. This causes the system to break down, causing the spirits to vanish for the time being. The system reboots automatically minutes later, and the spirit's reappearance forces Mattie and Dex to depart the city by automobile. They drive a long distance and then stop to rest in their car. Soon later, they are woken by a radio broadcast from the army announcing the locations of numerous safe zones with no internet, cell phones, or televisions. They are ambushed by a four-armed humanoid monster before they can respond to the news. Despite the heated argument, Dex manages to start the car and drive to a location with less signal, leaving the spirit behind. Finally, the two reach a safe zone, and the film concludes with Mattie's voiceover musing on their new reality: "We can never go back. They control the cities. Our lives are no longer the same. What was supposed to link us instead connected us to inconceivable powers. The world we once knew has vanished, yet the urge to live endures. Not only for us, but also for them," and the movie ends. Subscribe for more videos like this. Turn on notifications and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.